There are 7 of us. Thank you, Josh, for recording the meeting. We'll get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. On Flag Day, please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, folks. Any opening remarks? I don't see Mr. Dutton or Mr. Swenson on. Mr. Garish couldn't be here tonight, so you're all stuck with me. Sorry. Okay, moving on. We'll go to the approval of the previous SBC meeting minutes from May 10th, 2021. I will entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Rushton. That second was by Ms. Holbrook. Josh, do you want to take roll or do you want me to?
I can take roll.
Okay.
All
You
right.
got it.
Michael,
Aye.
Lillian,
Aye.
Harsh,
Sorry, aye.
Matt,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Thanks, Josh. Sorry, folks. I just realized that I am not on camera. I apologize. So approval of Bacon payment requisition number 5. This does require a vote. Mr. McNulty, I'll turn the floor over to you to give us a brief report on it.
Yep, so that was sent out last week for review. It's been, reviewed by our team in RDA, signed by RDA, initialed by us. The payment amount is $2,383,960. It does not include any change orders, whether, included as commitments or billed. We do have a change order to look at today, but it is not incorporated into this requisition. That'll be in the next requisition. Really not much more to it. I mean, it just reflects our progress over the month of May, which, as we know, is mostly site work, concrete and steel, along with the MEP trades coordinating. So
Any question?
I was just going to say, any questions?
Sorry, Mike. Yep. Any questions from the committee? Don't see any. I will entertain a motion to approve Bacon's payment requisition number 5 in the amount of $2,383,960.
Motion to approve by Mark.
Motion by Mark. I have a second by Mr. Rushton. Roll call vote.
Michael,
Yes.
Lillian,
Aye.
Harsh,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Thank you, Josh. Up next, number 7, quarry requirement deferral. This does require a vote. Mr. McNulty, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. So this is basically just to formally lock in the way we've already been operating after, the last few meetings, discussing taking this burden off of the town. It's something that's in the specifications, though. So we do have to defer that these requirements not be met until substantial completion. The thought being that we are satisfying Massachusetts laws, MSBA requirements with our, fully, fenced, supervised site. And up until substantial completion, we won't have any, I'll call them civilians visiting the site. There won't be any unsupervised visitors really until that point. And at that point, we'll have a greatly reduced workforce. Part of the burden of these requirements when we're already satisfying the laws without them is just the amount of workers that'll be cycled through all the different trades, building the building, 500 to 600 total. Post substantial completion, that should be down under 100, greatly reducing the burden of this process and also the cost. So I guess the motion would just be what's really there on the agenda. It's to defer the specified quarry requirements until substantial completion.
Are there any questions by the committee? Okay,
I do. This is Joe.
Sure,
with
Joe.
regard to substantial completion, is that a percentage? How do we what's the metric for substantial completion?
Yeah, so substantial completion is a formal point in the project. The architect and RDA will have to sort of grant them a certificate of substantial completion, meeting all the things in the specification that meets. But that's really at the point where we'll start bringing in the users a little bit more, the furniture vendors, and coordinating all that stuff. So it is already set up to be a real line in the sand with real requirements to obtain substantial completion. So that, that's the reason why we sort of chose, or it was easy to choose that timeline. But it also happens to be, it happens to make sense as the time when sort of people not under control of the contractor will be on site.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mike?
Michael,
Okay.
could I just ask one
Sure.
follow-up to that? So what you're asking for, I certainly understand the process and the amount of effort and time that goes into it, and certainly with no children on the site, not really concerned about it. But just in terms of comparison to other towns that are in similar situations, is this sort of a normal process that they go through, deferring this until substantial completion?
The sort of the most common thing in our situation would be to not have these core requirements. If we have a site such as this without an active school as sort of part of the project, that's what we're used to seeing. It's not unheard of, but typically there wouldn't be them at all. So we're still going above and beyond a bit, engaging them at substantial completion. But we feel it's at that point, it's a lesser expense, a lesser burden. We think it does make sense.
Okay, great. So would you say that this is more of a requirement when you're seeing a renovation of an existing school with students in it during the day?
That's absolutely the case. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to defer the quarry requirements until substantial completion is met on site. Do I have
Michael,
a motion?
Yeah, was that a motion that you just had? I would support that, obviously.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Rushton. Do I have a second?
Well, second.
I have a second by Mrs. Holbrook. Roll call vote.
Michael,
Yes.
Lillian,
Yes.
Harsh,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Patrick. Patrick,
Yes.
thank you. Joe,
Yes.
thank you. The motion was approved.
Thank you. Moving on to approval of change order number 1. Mike, I'm turning it back over to you for significant more detail.
All right. So for this one, I guess I'll share my screen just to get it up. This is just the file that was sent out last week. Hopefully everyone had a chance to look through it. These, I guess.
Do you mind making it bigger, please?
What's that?
Could you make it bigger, please?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
So we have change order 1. It's made up of these 9 PCOs. Some numbers are skipped here. It's not clean 1 through 9. Each of these PCOs have been reviewed, some of them revised based on our comments and RDA's comments. Each of them we feel has merit. Obviously, that's why we've allowed it to be included in change order one. That's essentially what we've done so far. And not just merit, that it's a change that is scope that's not owned, but now we have them to the point where we feel the cost is fair and reasonable. So the overall cost is that this 31,373. Obviously, that's just an aggregate of these costs here. I'll take you through quickly each one. Then I guess we'll take questions for each one as we go, and then overall, if there's any additional questions, then we'll go to a vote. So most of these are coming, well, actually, I'd say all of these, except for the allowance credit, are coming out of early coordination. The good news is that most of the higher cost items here coming out of coordination are the structural steel, and that's to be expected. But we're just about all the way through coordinating the structural steel and don't really see any additional costs coming through, after this batch, or at least not significant ones. So first one was modified base plates, really modified to incorporate other trades in coordination. There was added steel and there was some added time with the detailers, to reincorporate those modified base plates. Revised hollow stainless steel, that's the HSS columns, area C. Those columns were enlarged in size. So we have the cost for the redetailing and the added steel. Revised foundation drain. This drain was already shown on the drawings, but it was a shorter run to a different manhole. The revision there for coordination increased the linear footage of that, and it was priced accordingly. This credit for the hazardous soil allowance. This was a just in case allowance that was carried because of the existing elevators, but we found that there was no issue with the existing hydraulic oil or anything like that. So we were able to take that back. Partition changes, basically as the MEP trades are coordinated, the walls sort of move with them, and that's what's reflected in that PCO number 7. And PCOs 8, 9, 11, and 13 are sort of all of the
Mike,
same.
can I,
Oh, go ahead.
Mike, sorry, I want to just take a quick pause, see if there's any questions about the first 5. I do have a question about PCO number 7, but if anybody has any questions from 1 to 6, 1, 2, 4, and 6, by all means.
Sorry, stop me. I'll just keep rolling.
I just want to make sure we don't get ahead of ourselves and have to backtrack too far.
So
Okay, no question. So I have a question about PCO 7, the participant changes. Do we expect that to continue to happen as the project progresses along?
yes.
That's going to be a ongoing cost.
So one of, things moving around due to the steel, we think is a bit behind us, but there is still a lot of, coordination to go for all the mechanical trades and just coordination between the architectural trades. And we do anticipate similar changes to this sort of general partition moving changes. We minimize that by catching things now before any walls are in place. This one in particular actually added wall, right? And we're going to be moving a lot of wall before there's any in place, and we shouldn't see costs on that. And RDA has been great about sort of horse trading pre-design. But it is, I'd be certainly lying if I said that this type of change isn't something we anticipate. It's the kind of thing that we'll see all the way through the project with our drywall subcontractor, but that will work to minimize. All the work that we're doing now, coordinating up front, is to minimize this stuff later.
Okay, good, thank you.
So that last batch, really kind of taken together as a getting through the steel coordination. We feel, and I think RDA feels, you can speak up if you if you feel differently, but we feel it was, you know, a sort of a win for the project to get through the steel coordination with, you know, minimal cost changes. And we feel, you know, Bacon and the contractors have been working with us pretty well, despite trying to charge us for trucking when things get added, but not giving back trucking when things get deleted. But you know, we got through that as a sort of an initial hiccup.
No, I mean, I echo everything you say, and, you know, these changes happen on every job. You know, when it's a bid job, the only way to kind of address them is with change orders. You know, when it's a construction manager at risk or a private job, you know, everyone knows that these are gonna happen, and usually there's like a hold put somewhere in the budget and the money just flows over to it. But, you know, John, as I hope you can imagine, has been, you know, really watching out for your interests, and he's done a hell of a job coordinating things. And to Mike's point, you know, you know, you never like to see change orders, but, you know, this is expected, and this is actually very reasonable based on John's work.
Yeah, I mean, we're at a point right now where most of the utilities are in at the site. The foundation is 99% complete. The structural steel is all fabricated. The building is mechanically coordinated. And if it wasn't raining tomorrow, they would have poured their first slab on the deck. And we're $30,000 into change orders. That's amazing. So it's come together very, very well. And the contractor's done a hell of a job there. So we're in really good shape right now, as far as I'm concerned.
So hopefully you've had a chance to go through the backup. You know, Bacon, you know, a testament to them. They've been doing a really good job of creating sort of, I call it the sandwich, right? Like their cover sheet, the contractor's cover sheet, then the design or the contract document backup behind it. You know, a lot of times highlighted when we're asking them to make revisions on these. You know, we have our negotiation, then once they agree to a revision, they, you know, mark it up in red very clearly to us, show us that it's made. It's been a clean process for this first one. So we're happy with it.
Zeros.
4.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the committee?
3 zeros and then a 6. I don't even know what that is.
1,000th of a percent.
Okay.
100th.
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve change order
Mike,
01. Oh, yep,
Mike, I apologize. I was on mute trying to get your attention.
that's all right.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Just a quick question before we move to a vote. So obviously change orders on a job like this, as you explained, are going to be quite typical, and we're going to see them month to month. And we've run so many numbers. Just wanted to get a sense of, when you're talking about change orders and the increased cost, what is the contingency that we have in the project to absorb the change orders? And at what point should the committee be concerned about what we're spending month to month on change orders? Is that $500,000? Are we at $1 million? I just forget the numbers. I'm not sure if you have that information, or maybe could share it later just to expedite the meeting.
I'm just pulling up so I can give you an accurate sense. Certainly we're nowhere near that point, but it is good to discuss what that point is. Just 1 minute.
And I'm just curious, as we move month to month, that we can keep a running total and get an update of where we are with change orders and spending down that contingency.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we're gonna have I mean, we just have one change order now, right? Or potentially one. We're gonna present with later ones a log. We'll show our contingency drawdown.
Awesome.
You know, all that stuff. And I should say that we're trying to have this be the first one that's seen by the financial subcommittee first, and then is recommended for approval to the full committee. But the timing of getting it finalized and Bacon getting it to us just didn't work. I was working with John Garish, you know, in the 2 weeks before this meeting, kind of, you know, like, all right, I think I'll have it. And, you know, then it was just delayed a day here and there. So it ended up at this committee first, but the flow, we think, is going to be, you know, comes to this committee after having already been seen and recommended by the financial subcommittee.
Great. That was sort of my follow-up is to that. I thought we had formed a subcommittee to kind of go through the details. So it just gets brought to the full committee. We can kind of move through it a little bit quicker, but I understand the timing.
And then I guess the other point I wanted to make is that we are just authorizing this to be added to the committed cost. They still have to perform the actual work that's in these changes before they actually bill for it. So, if this is approved this meeting, we'll see it in next month's rec, but we won't necessarily see it billed for. We'll just see it listed, in their schedule of values.
Mike, this is Harsh. I have a question.
Go
This
ahead,
is for
Harsh.
PCO 6 regarding the allowance that was credited back to us.
Yeah.
And maybe Mike McNulty already went over this and I missed it, so I apologize. But we talked about the credit coming back to us, but did you go over why the builder's risk and the bond wouldn't be credited as well? Why that's zeroed out?
Basically, that's the contract terms. The way that the 149 AAA contract reads is we don't owe, or they don't owe that back to us. And basically that's the reason.
Right.
Yeah. And
Okay, I
that'll
just
be the
wanted to
case.
clarify that for the meeting as well. I mean, once this becomes public record, that's a question that'll come up.
Right.
Not
So
everyone is familiar with the 149.
that'll be the case with any credits, right? If we had them include something and we want it deleted from the project and we want the cost back for it, they keep the overhead and profit that they had carried, on top of that scope of work, and they keep the, the bond markup, the insurance markup, and all of that. And then, of course, if we put it back in, they will remark it up with new markups, and so it's not a good value to be doing that. In the case of this allowance, it's a little different, but it is something to, I guess, look out for.
And just to be clear, this applies only to the 149A subs or to every single contractor
Yeah,
on this project?
yeah, so this is just straight 149, and it applies to our GC contract essentially. So it
Got it.
covers everything.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
This is Joe. I had my hand raised in the participants column. Question, I was wanting to follow up with Matt's initial question, which I appreciate. I thought at a point in time, we had discussion as to any change order, and there was a threshold to that change order that the subcommittee would be able to manage. And if it went beyond that threshold, that it then would come to the full committee. Am I thinking incorrectly?
No, that's right, Joe. So it was 25,000.
Okay.
And that was for basically the financial subcommittee has, I'll call it the authority to fully approve PCOs or changes, like, the changes within this change order, to authorize the contractor to keep going if it's under $25,000. But I guess the secondary purpose of the financial subcommittee would be to save us time, rather than going through multiple line items in detail with the full committee, have them be able to, present a recommendation of things. But I guess the main purpose of that financial subcommittee is a schedule thing to be able to keep the contractor moving, when things do need to be authorized in between full committee meetings. And 25,000 was that threshold.
Great, thank you. I just need to be reminded of the amount.
And that's a pretty typical threshold, on projects of this
That's
size.
great.
in 149
Thank you.
MSBA.
So, Mike, I do have a question. The $1 million question, or actually the $31,000 question, I suppose. If we don't vote to approve this, what happens?
Well, I guess we'd have to go back to the drawing board in a couple ways. But I would not, I guess the reason it's being recommended for approval is because, us as a team with RDA, feel that it's necessary for the project. In some cases, I guess we have no choice if we want the building built in such a way as we do, right? in some cases, we could probably find some ways to do things a little differently. But these are pretty basic to get the intent of what we want changes. There's no fluff in there for sure.
Okay, good. I'm not advocating we vote no on it. I just want to lay it all out on the table.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. See,
Mike,
Sorry,
yeah.
guys.
Mike, this is John.
Hey, John.
I mean, you've heard in the OAC meetings that, we're certainly duking it out. So
Yeah.
Turning the
Oh, yeah.
screws a little bit. Yeah.
the point being is that once it gets to you in the committee, at the committee level, it has been, we have had to acquiesce as much as we're going to acquiesce. So we wouldn't bring you one that we would think you would refuse. And normally what happens is the contractor kind of takes it on good faith that after we've duked it out, that he's proceeding and he knows it'll eventually get approved and he can rec for it. So anything that's even remotely unapprovable, we would make sure he knows that there's no exposure on your part and he shouldn't be doing any work that you haven't approved. So.
Good. Thanks, John. I think that helps. That level sets for everybody. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. One last call for questions on this. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve change order number 1 in the amount of $31,373.15.
Moved.
Motion by Mr. Rushton. Do I have a second?
Second, Marsh.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lindy. Roll call vote.
Michael,
Yes.
Lillian,
yes,
Harsh,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Thank you, Josh. OPM update. Back to you, Mike.
Quick overview update, then I think look ahead schedule, then photos, and a little financial information. Being sort of the early long activities part of the project, we still have foundations, but we've moved on to parts B and C. We still have underground utilities, although that's wrapping up, or at least outside the building footprint is wrapping up. Now we're getting to the underground work inside the building footprint. The steel is well underway. We were about to have our first deck pour of the concrete slab tomorrow. That's been postponed due to the weather. But that just shows us how far along we are in part A. We were able to approve the main brick that we had talked about with the financials, with the finishes subcommittee. I think RDA and everyone is happy with the final selection there, meets or comes close to meeting the original intent. Bacon's doing a great job maintaining safety on the site. We've had no incidents, COVID or classic. We've had a lot of good work with the coordination of the testers, both on our side with Briggs and on the design team side, with a lot of the big things going on. That's the retaining wall, the infiltration systems, and obviously the structural foundations. Our next pre-con meetings where we're going to kick off new trades. Those are the building exterior trades, the mason, the air and vapor barrier, waterproofer, and the roofer are the next ones. Those will all probably be within the next month. Let me get in. I'm going to repeat myself a little bit because I think the look ahead schedule, like I said, with these longer early activities, what's recently happened is also what's going to happen next month for the most part. But we're progressing. I think that requisition that we just approved put them at about 12% complete. And I think the actual physical progress is probably a little bit ahead of that. So we continue to have our site guy excavating for foundations and utilities and retaining walls and infiltration systems. Concrete continues. Steel continues as we move on to part B and C, or eventually C. So we have the waterproofer now on site working on that retaining wall. He'll be kicked off in a pre-con meeting before he gets going on the foundations for backfill. And then onto the photos. Steel erection at building A. We just get to see sort of the true scale of the building there. Retaining wall, some of those underground utilities.
Mike, on that retaining wall, sorry, if you could go back to it real quick. That's the retaining wall that abuts and the neighbors see, correct?
Yes.
Just so, okay, I just want to get sort of a lay of the land for folks.
Well, it sort of, I think what we're seeing here, the neighbors won't see, but as it wraps around, they will.
And maybe if people can keep that photo in their mind, because when we do our report, we've been reacting to some of the abutter concerns that came through from Mike and Joe. So we've got planting that we're going to be suggesting. We haven't gotten it priced up yet, but where this dark loam is at the bottom of the wall, when it faces the neighbors, we're going to recommend some evergreen shrubs. And we're also on the top of the wall going to be recommending that we change the fence type from a chain link that you can see through to a cedar board fence, just for to soften it up and also keep headlights from going into the neighbor's backyard. So I just wanted you to keep that photo in your mind, because I don't have one like that.
I would say by next meeting, we'll be able to present what that cedar fence looks like, along with some cost information for the change, right?
Yep, that's the intent.
There's another nice overall photo showing the foundations in steel.
It just one thing, Mike, while we're talking here, just given the history of the site with the town of Bridgewater, the inspections here have been over the top. We've done absolutely everything you can do for every phase of the scope of the project to ensure that it's fully inspected as we go along. So all this backfilling, all this structural erection, all this concrete, all these things are being tested constantly, and there have been no issues at all to this date that I'm aware of. So
yeah, it's been going really well. And we, like you said, we've been going, I guess I'd say above and beyond. We are tracking a little high. It's what, we had our 125,000 for the third party testing authorized. We're tracking a little above that if I look at our burn rate for the balance of the project, but we're not slowing that down at this point, because we feel like it's necessary for this critical work that gets hidden, and with the history of the site, we want to make sure we're doing our due diligence and more. So.
yeah, this is not the time to be backing off. We're almost there. We'll get to a point where we can feel comfortable with it, but we're bringing a lot of material onto the site, filling the site. We're placing a lot of concrete. We're erecting a lot of steel. We're putting waterproofing in. These are all things that need constant attention from a testing agency to ensure that we're not going to have a problem 6 months from now or a year from now. So.
Yep. All right, nice drone shot. Our project sign is installed. One of our site reps, Larry, is in a current, a joking back and forth about getting those existing posts removed. You should see them removed by next week. not in Bacon's scope technically, but I think we might get a favor there. So I was saying, Bacon's doing a great job with the safety. They're also right on, tracking right on with the baseline schedule. And I will say their look ahead schedules are coordinated well with the overall schedule updates that I've seen. So we're happy with the progress there as well. Any questions on schedule or upcoming activities? So we have our next meeting, keeping the second Monday of the month, July 12th. Continue monthly through the construction phase. So total project budget, we are still waiting for MSBA to give us the finalized 3011 total project budget. At this point, we anticipate it before the end of this month, June. We've expressed the town's desire to be able to put the accurate tax calculator up on the website. They understand that we're waiting with bated breath for it, but have expressed to us that the draft that we submitted was clean, and they don't anticipate any major changes. And what they've sent back to me to confirm has been clean on their side. So it should come to a resolution shortly. Mike Dolan, you even chimed in and pushed them on it in one of our meetings that they attended, and it seems like it's tough to get a clear update out of them, but what I've gotten is should be by the end of the month.
Yeah, we want to push, but recognize the fact that they're giving us a substantial amount of money for this project, so we don't want to push too hard.
And we haven't. I'll give them another call tomorrow. I actually left them a voicemail in anticipation of trying to have a better update than end of the month for this meeting, but I didn't get them yet. So we're up to ProPay number 19 submitted. Still showing our draft effective reimbursement rate, which that'll be adjusted when we get the finalized draft of the 3011 from MSBA, but we don't anticipate any changes to it. And that was my last slide.
Very good. Any questions for Mike? Open up the chat. Joe, I see your hand raised, but I don't know if that's from earlier or if you have a question.
Sorry, that was from earlier. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, thanks.
Anyone else? Any questions? All right. Gene, designer update, please.
May I share my screen? Yes. Okay, good. Can everyone see a nice photo?
Yes.
Okay, great. So again, it's a pretty short update. This is a view from the driveway that wraps from South Street along the side of the pre-K wing, and it's the top of the wall that you had seen in Mike's photograph during his presentation. And this wall is going to be coming up another good number of feet. I don't know if it's 4 feet or whatever it is from where it is. And you can see this is South Street out here where my cursor is going left to right. So when the trees came down on the school property, it really did open up the backyard of the abutters to view from the school, and vice versa, from the house looking at this wall, and then the school, which will pop up 50 or 60 feet behind it. So what we are again going to be discussing with Bacon is softening the wall with plantings between the green fence and the wall itself, evergreen plantings, and then also changing the fence on top. So this is a little snippet on the right side here. This is the face of the pre-K wing where my cursor is going up and down, and these are, parents dropping off, children. But this is the drive kind of coming around the corner from South Street, and that wall is this whole extent here. And so the property line is, I don't know, 10 feet or so from the base of the wall. And we have room to do this evergreen planting. And this is an example. These are green giant arborvitaes, and they will get, could get 40 to 60 feet tall. They won't be, the day they go in, they'll be 10 feet tall, but they're fast growing. And our landscape architect has done a sketch that we're going to feed to Bacon, showing the spacing and the species of the trees. But that should pretty much cover up the fence, in a few years when they're all kind of getting more mature. And then also we had along the top of the wall, we had a chain link fence. And what was brought to our attention is, geez, cars coming around the corner here might be shining headlights, toward the abutters. So what we're going to do is turn that chain link into a 6-foot high cedar fence, a solid, wood board fence, which will be aesthetically and then I guess more of a privacy too, kind of situation. So this, we hope we can get priced up by Bacon and make a report to you next month. That's one of the things we've been doing. I don't know if anyone has any questions on that. And if people do, feel free to interrupt me. The last thing is that I had mentioned to you last time that we had the clay that was coming out of the clay pit was resulting in bricks that were kind of different shades than what we had worked with the finish committee. And so over the past, I think it's really been 6-8 weeks now, we've had done a lot of work with our brick salesperson. The mason on the site's been very cooperative. And I'm kind of showing you 2 brick panels that the mason built for us, but there's another third one over on the right that was more like a chocolate brown. But we've been, I'll say, scurrying a little bit because we have to pick a brick in order to get it ordered and delivered to the site, so that when Bacon is ready for it, it's there and the mason can just put it up seamlessly. So our designer Steve, who a lot of you know, and myself and John, kind of brought it down to these 2 brick for the main field. And then I touched base with Derek, and then Lil and Dennis actually came out to the site with me last week, and I was relieved that both of them immediately said the one they like, which was the one that we were recommending, which is this lighter colored brick over on the left here. So we've issued that to Bacon, and the brick order's in. We have the mortar color between the windows. There'll be a kind of a blend of these nice green glazed brick on the piers between windows. We have some, it's actually a cementitious board. It looks very much like wood. We have this as an accent panel in certain locations around the school. And in the cafeteria, down at the base, we have kind of tall, dark windows, but we also have, they're spaced in between masonry piers that are also kind of tall and narrow. And so we're using this iron spot brick there. And the face of the gym is actually going to be these polished ground face block concrete masonry units. So we've made all our masonry selections, and as I said, we were happy that everyone would, on our side and your side, we're on the same page. So I don't know if there are any questions, or Lil or Dennis want to chime in, but that's kind of what we've been up to. Besides doing all John's work with the submittals and administering the construction.
Any questions for Gene or Lil or Dennis if you want to jump in?
Hey, Mike, can I ask a question?
Sure, go for it, Pat.
Gene, where are those green blocks? Where are those green blocks around the windows?
Yeah, give me a sec, Pat. I'll search and pull up an image of the outside of the building here.
And is that like tan yellow brick? Is that as hot as like a typical red brick? Is that going to give us the same,
Yeah.
maintenance properties and long? It's not something that's going to disintegrate over time. Or?
No, it's not. It's it's just different colored clay, to be honest. So sorry, give me a sec.
The type of brick is the same, Pat. It's just how different colored admixtures, but it's fired the same way.
Who makes that brick, John?
That is it's a Manhasset. I gotta find the actual manufacturer.
Did you say M-A-N, task? Task?
I thought it was Spalding.
Are you saying Manhasset?
It's a Waterstown Manhasset brick.
So Waterstown is the manufacturer, Pat, and the model, or the whatever, call it the model, is Manhasset.
So Gene, you've got that picture pulled up, but I was just gonna point to the project website. On the homepage, we've got a couple of drawings like this that are scrolling on the homepage that show the green brick in a couple of different places if people want to check that out as well. But I'll turn it back to you, Gene.
I see it up on the second floor windows there.
Yeah, up in the second floor windows, and this brown is where we have that cementitious product that looks like wood, and then here these are actually the dark windows, and we were thinking about doing the piers with the green blend, but these piers are actually going to be that dark iron spot like we have over here under the administrative wing. And then those concrete block units that I show you are here. They're the face of the gymnasium. And the thought is you want to take this big facade and break it up into smaller pieces. So, we have the curtain wall, kind of the dark base. This is a different material from this is the field brick. That was that lighter brick that we ended up selecting. If that makes sense.
Last question, I'm sorry. Waterstown Manhasset, is that what you said?
It's
Yes.
Maybe Watsontown.
I'll email Mike McNulty or you, Pat, directly. We'll find the board and do it. Yeah.
That's fine, thank you.
I think the boards are out at the site. That's the problem.
Oh.
Okay, any other questions for Gene?
I said last question, but one more. So, but the mason was involved. The mason was involved in picking it, right? Or helping.
No, we select it, and we ask the mason. We ask him to get these bricks and create a panel so we can see what it looks like instead of just looking at a single brick.
Right.
But we tell the mason what we think we want.
Thank you.
What are you thinking, Pat? I mean, just for your own edification, this Mason and I go back 30 years, so.
Oh, no, I don't know anything about brick. It's just that I'm used to like the hot, I think what you call the Bridgewater brick, the
Yeah.
hard stiles and hot.
Yeah.
And I've seen some other soft, I don't know if they're softer or more porous brick, and they seem to disintegrate over time, but they don't hold up as well. I mean, I think you can see it right in front of our existing high school. I mean, it's some of the bricks on our new high school. It's only 12 years old that we used to build the the benches and things out front are disintegrating and falling apart
Well,
after 12 years.
Just so you know, but there are issues there. There's a lot of salt there. There's been some things like that don't hold up as well, but on a main field building as what we're doing and flashed properly and constructed properly, you won't see any degradation of the brick from a softness standpoint like that.
No, you won't.
I just want to make sure whatever we're picking for materials are long lasting and
Yeah, no,
limited maintenance.
and we're pretty confident that this brick is as good as it can get. So we expect a pretty high quality brick.
Thank you.
Watson time?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on the agenda, report from the communications group. Ms. Holbrook, I'll ask you to do that if you could.
Sure. We have been continuing to update our website and consolidating things and making it really user-friendly, putting in timelines. So if you haven't had an opportunity to check it out, please do, because it is coming along nicely. We are also in the process of putting together a list for the capping off ceremony. And we will be meeting with Daedalus to go over that. We also were still waiting, as you heard, for the MSBA on the tax impact. And finally, I'd like to thank BTV and Brian for providing us the dronage coverage that was posted on our Facebook page and is also posted on our website.
Good.
That's it.
Any questions for Lil? All right. Seeing none. Our next meeting is June 12th, the second Monday, I'm sorry, July 12th, the second Monday of the month. Mike, do you have anything you want to add to that? Mike
Just that we're
McNulty?
lucky that we aren't the first Monday of the month, because that's July 5th and it's causing problems throughout the industry.
Planning ahead, I guess.
Mhm.
I don't have anything under new business. Mike, do you?
No, we covered it. It's, just like our weekly OAC meetings with the contractor, they're uneventful, and that's a good thing. We'll try to keep it that way. Same with these meetings. So.
Good. Public comment. I don't think, as I run through the list of participants, there is no one from the public here, but I'll call for it anyway. Anybody for public comment?
And has a KT. Is it just me?
Okay. Seeing none. Thank you, folks. Two things real quick. All town meetings have gone back to in person. I'm not sure what that's going to mean for our July 12th meeting, but just as a heads up, that may turn into an in-person meeting. I'll have to work with John on that. And other than that, have happy 4th, and we will see you all on the 12th. And I will take a motion to adjourn.
Bill, so moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Rushton and a second by Mrs. Holbrook. Roll call vote.
Michael,
Yes.
Lillian,
Yes.
Harsh,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all.
Take care.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.